gloves that I knew what I was wearing, so I kind of saw them there.
Order. Hello. Welcome to the Select Board meeting for Monday, June 10th, 2024. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have a short board today and hopefully a short agenda. We'll start with reading the mail, then we'll go into department updates from Park and Rec. 7 o'clock we'll do public input, member updates. At 7:15 we'll approve a bunch of one-day liquor licenses for the Rotary Carnival, Rotary Club Carnival.
This is the mail, right?
7:30 we'll have select board discussions on the Studio G for the MSBA Shaker Lane. Discuss Articles 31 and 32 from the town meeting. Review the select board's meeting schedule for the rest of the year. Talk about the townwide truck policies and a government transition. Talk about town appointments, the orchard, and the signing of the purchase and sale for the Webster property. 8:15 we'll do a job description for the animal control officer, followed by minutes and an adjournment. So moving on to the mail.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Select Board. Just wanted to let everyone know, as we do at every meeting, the current vacancies on the town boards. We have 2 in the Affordable Housing Trust, 1 in the Agricultural Commission we have 3 on the Agricultural Commission. There are 6 openings on the Clean Lakes Committee. I guess I'm a little confused. Why are there so many here?
So that's all, a lot of these are reappointments. Anything that's in 2027 is a reappointment. So after today's meeting, there will be a lot fewer.
Okay. Thank you. I will continue. We have 3 in the Council on Aging, 4 in the Cultural Council, 1 on the Disability Commission, 2 in the Economic Development Committee, 3 on the Historical Commission, 2 on the LCT Advisory Committee, 3 on the Master Plan Committee, 2 on the Permanent Municipal Building Committee, 2 on the Nagog Hill Orchard Ad Hoc Working Group, 1 on the Personnel Advisory Committee, 2 on the Sustainability Committee, 1 on the Taxation Aid Committee, and 4 on the Transportation Advisory Council, and 4 on the Zoning Board of Appeals. And appointed by the town moderator, there is 1 term for the Finance Committee. Okay. Moving on, we have the notifications. In addition to what is live, the town's newsletter that we have on the town website. Please sign up for that. We also have, you can receive public notifications for community impacts, transportation issues, public health concerns, public safety activity, town meetings, town meeting changes, town events. So please stay informed. Go to register at www.littletonma.org/subscribe. We received notification that the Mass DEP has notified the release of a notification on conditions because of an oil spill of 50 gallons of gear oil from a cooling unit at below crusher number 2 at Holcomb facility at 149 Air Road in Littleton, Mass. The release occurred on a portion of Holcomb's facility that is used for aggregate production. Holcomb responded immediately and the release has been cleaned up. No further action is required. So, which is great news. Great job. We have notification here from the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission advisory regarding food and beverage containing hemp derived CBD and or the on-licensed premise. That it is unlawful, it's a notification to be advised that it is unlawful to manufacture and or sell food or beverages containing hemp derived CBD and or THC. This applies to alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. These and the products must be taken off the shelf immediately. Any licensed licensee found in violation of importing, manufacturing, transporting, selling, and/or possessing on its licensed premise food and/or beverage containing hemp-derived CBD and/or THC faces potential suspension or revocation of its license. And that would be it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we're skipping, the police department asked to be scheduled for the following meeting. So Park and Rec.
All right. So there's two different things. We had an update. I don't know if you guys want me to go through that. And then we also have some 20B exemptions. So it's kind of to you guys, it's your time.
Start with the 20B.
All right. So 20B, we've done this quite a few times. So essentially, we have staff that work for the public schools, but they also work for us in the summer, and there's an overlap for a few months. So there's a list of people. Some are either vendors who give us invoices, or some are actually hired as employees. There's a certain set. These two, whether they're a vendor or they're an employee, their hours, their time is not affected, or there's no sort of conflict with the other position in any other way. So that's just kind of the exemptions verifying that that's the fact. So we have our list of people. I brought all of the documents for you guys to sign if you choose to approve them. Any questions?
Go ahead.
I had a question about the timing. So almost everyone was listed as beginning their conflict or their additional position as starting May 15th.
Mm-hmm.
But there were two that listed September 2023. Did they start at the beginning of the school year then?
Which one were those two?
Kristen Hemis and Perry Kenny.
So I believe we've actually already done them in the past.
Okay.
But we're just doing it again just in case.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
That was one of my questions. My other question is
Yep.
actually is to Jim and Ryan, if we can simplify this form, because it doesn't look like anyone's actually filled it out correctly, right?
Really?
Well, if you look, it says select, a lot of these say select something in box 1 or 2, and neither one there's nothing checked. So,
There is on its state, there's a or.
I checked
no,
the
it's
same
in
thing.
box 1, it says select either statement 1 or statement 2, and there's nothing checked. And then
But
there's
that's
box
'cause-
2, and it says select statement 1 or 2, and then there's something checked in box 2, but there's nothing checked in box 1.
But box 1 is specifically for an elected municipal employee.
Okay.
Which
So
they are
the-
not.
So folks
Okay.
have
It's a
to choose one or the
confusing-
other. I did the
So then
same
there
thing.
needs to be something to clarify, it's just a confusing
It
form.
really is.
So I don't know what we can do
So,
to
yeah, we
simplify
really
it.
can't, that's part of the problem, is that.
Can we make,
State forms. I don't disagree with you, Mark, that's, you know.
I read
so-
this form and I'm trying to figure out, yeah,
Yeah,
But
welcome.
this is
And, like-
state dictated?
yeah.
Yeah.
So did the people actually start on May 15th, or they're starting when school's out?
We had an all-staff training, so that was, and then we really, unless there's other training components, we're not really starting until school lets out.
Okay,
Yep.
okay,
Ready?
ready?
Move that the Select Board vote to acknowledge a disclosure by a municipal employee of financial interest in a municipal contract and approve the exemptions for Adam DeCoste, Kristen Hemis, Perry McKinney, Mady Holleran, I apologize.
Maddie?
Thank you, I'm sorry that I mispronounced your name. Maddie Holleran, Emily Bell, Julia Denoya, and Paige O'Keefe as a municipal employee in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 20B.
Second?
Moved by Matthew, second by Karen, all those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. All right, I'll give
So
you,
I actually have, so Mark, this just needs to be signed by Mark with the chair.
okay. Thank you, Ryan, I really appreciate that.
There we go, thank you.
Okay, so while you're signing those, I'll go through and just give an update for Parks and Recreation. So we have completed the permanent walkway installation at Long Lake Beach. We had some individuals from the public that came to talk to us that really needed something year-round, not just a seasonal walk path, and it's something that we've wanted to do for a really long time. So this kind of gave us that like push to really complete it. So with the approval of Conservation and the Disability Committee and the help of Highway, we were able to get in an excellent contractor to do the work. He did it in about a week, and so it's there, and we'll love it and take care of it for as long as we are able to. And yeah, it's been an amazing addition, and we've had nothing but compliments from the public on having this walkway put in. So it's been really great. Third Thursday is actually going to be this Thursday, so second Thursday. We're just doing that just so we're not over top of the Rotary Fair that's happening. So just trying to get that out to the public. It'll be at Fay Park, and the public is welcome there between 5 p.m. and 7:30. So it's a great time. We'll have music, food truck, all that stuff, and vendors, obviously. And then the last piece, which is really exciting, we applied for a grant with the Doug Flutie Jr. Foundation for Autism, and we were awarded this amazing communication sign that we were able to install out on Castle in the Trees. So it's in a really prominent area, so it's pretty accessible to any of the kids that want to use it, and it's an amazing communication tool, especially with individuals that are on the autism spectrum. So if maybe they're not fully verbal, they can actually point to the sign and talk to other people and tell them what they want or what they need. So it's a really cool sign. We're really thankful to be able to have won that grant. And yeah, it's a great addition to Castle in the Trees.
What's the sign made out of?
It is, I believe, it is like aluminum behind it, and then has the, like that, it's a thicker, it's not like just a plastic coating, it's a little bit thicker than that. But it's pretty sturdy.
I just wondered if it's going to fade or have other problems we have to, if there's
I
any
don't
maintenance
know.
we have to worry about with it.
Yeah, I mean, if it fades, that's something I'm sure we could communicate with them and they'll help us out.
Okay.
It's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doug Flutie's still making our lives better.
I know, right?
After all these years.
It's amazing.
No, I was super impressed with that when I saw it in the packet, and shared it with my sons who have several neurodivergent friends, and
Excellent.
they thought it was something they hadn't heard of, and a really cool solution. So yeah, good
Yeah.
job.
That's all
Thank
I
you
got,
for
my
the
friends.
path.
Yeah, the path is gorgeous as well.
Good,
Yeah.
I'm glad you like it. All right, any other questions?
Good luck with your summer kickoff.
Thank you. It's gonna be nuts. Appreciate it. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're a little early, but I'll do, we'll start with members' updates.
So my update on the orchard, we have reached out to MAPC to talk about scheduling some public input sessions. I think even though the article didn't pass, the board and the orchard working group are interested in hearing from residents on what they want out of the orchard, and also I believe it would help to explain some of the challenges that we'll have following the failure of that warrant article, the money situation. Ryan is looking into prices for tree removal, which is something that is very likely that we're going to need to do, and also the pricing on those emergency repairs that we've outlined at our last select board meeting. I think that's the only update I have today.
Karen?
Nope.
So I attended the sewer working group meeting last week, which was very short, and thank you for all the work and the light and water department has done to put that together. Stay tuned for more updates. It's review season, so we have to finish our reviews of our 3 employees. So I sent out reviews for the police chief and the town administrator, and I will send out one for the fire chief later today. I also was at the Orchard Working Group meeting, and can pretty much echo the stuff you said. We'll talk more about that later. And I wanted to thank the TA and the Nancy and everyone for getting out the town newsletter. So, and encourage all the boards and departments to get in updates by Friday.
15th, that's right, 15th of the
By-
month.
By Friday for the next iteration, so,
That includes the,
select board,
yes, it does.
Yes, who does that now?
the clerk.
Rats.
So, do you,
I'm sorry.
updates?
Oh, sure, no, absolutely, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, well, and I'm not sure if everyone knows out there, but we had a great meeting this morning with the department heads, and members on the select board were able to join us, and it was I thought it was a very positive meeting across the board, in many ways of identifying areas of what they're currently doing, but some of the challenges and some of the goals that they all have. But what I thought was exceptional was the fact that they independently recognized the impact that this select board has had on them, the positive impact, which I think is excellent. That was very, very well done. So some of the things some of the highlights that came out, we have of our veterans office. There is the veterans, our local veterans in Littleton will see an increase in their monthly allotment, and we currently have a client list of approximately 8 veterans, and there is continued outreach efforts to encourage anybody that is in need of anything to reach out to our VSO and see how we can help. On the accounting end, as people out there may be aware, that for local government, the end of the fiscal year is June 30th, and state government, by the way, and is June 30th, and so we are at the crunch time of the end of the year accounting. And what we also have a positive thing, an additional positive thing out of accounting, we're also interviewing for a financial analyst out of there, which is fantastic. We had a great number of requests, and I think there's going to be 6 people that are going to be interviewed. Library summer readings are going to start, and that is a very, very strong program here in the library. The police department, thank you for everyone at town meeting that supported that. The addition to another officer that will be on the street. And there is an individual that is scheduled to be in the academy and complete that, and was previously a dispatcher for the town, a full-time dispatcher, and it's fantastic as that individual is transitioning to be a police officer. Anybody out there who would like to purchase some compost bins, there's approximately what we're able to do is get them they're at DPW. And we're able to sell them at what it costs the town at $55 per, and there's a few still left. We ordered 20, but we can get more if there seems to be individuals who want more. And the great thing about it is because of the grant and because we're able to do that, they're regularly $190. So which is fantastic, and it's 55. So please, anybody who hasn't tried that, you should try it. We're also doing. What's going on is exploring. It's going to start a feasibility study for space needs as the department is growing. There's a lot of many different areas within DPW, so that is going to be a continued project for quite a while. The one-stop application was submitted by Marin. She did a fantastic job of coordinating that. We've got an affordable housing trust component to that. We have a continued effort on the consultant to support the common and the businesses and the residents that are there, and how we can continue to promote. And we also have a request for the continued effort for 550 King Street for infrastructure improvements over there. The town clerk is looking to fill the position of an assistant town clerk. That town clerk has transitioned over into the assessor's office, which everyone is very, very happy. The town clerk is sad to see her go, but it's a nice opportunity for Kim to move up, which is great. Board of Health has got a lot of exciting things going on there. There is going to be 10 sensor, there is an air sensor grant that the Board of Health has received, and there's going to be strategically placed around town 10 air sensors, which will be picking up pollutants within the community, and that will be an ongoing data situation that will be collected. There is also what we'll also be looking at is an intern program, one in the fall, one in the spring with the Board of Health, to support and to educate and to hopefully get some more of those Board of Health directors out there. That would be great. And we are looking for for clinics and how we can establish a free clinic in the fall. And also the Board of Health Francis is doing a registration as a vaccination site. Lastly, we have Council on Aging. There will be a beam signing on June 27th. There'll be plenty of Sharpies, there'll be everything, and it's all exciting. And we are looking forward to watching that project over there grow, which is fantastic. That's it. If the Select Board has any questions or anything, any concerns? Great, thank you.
Public input?
Wait, no, please. Put this thing closer to you here. Mr. Chairman, I wanted to say,
Everyone knows you, but can you still do your name and address, please?
oh, I'm sorry about that. George A. Sanders, 672 Great Road. I wanted to point out that I think this newsletter that the town put out was well done. A lot of time and effort went into it across the spectrum. I think it covered just about everything that people had a need to know in the town with regards to what's going on in the town, which is good. The only question I had was, are they printing this in hard copy and leaving it where residents are coming into office in the town, like the clerk office, like the COA or EHS? Are they putting this where people can grab it?
Well, and we thought of that, Mr. Sanders, and we struggled as the Select Board gave me that direction, 6 months ago upon starting, and that this was really important to be able to get the current information out there. The struggle that we have, ultimately, would love for it to be a print thing that's done weekly, but that's way too expensive, and we got to have to walk before we run. But with that said, we have the ability, as it is on the website, to update things necessary as it changes. So we wouldn't want news to get stale or anything like that. And if we're going to print out something of today's news, it could be different in 3 or 4 days from now. There could be an update that we would reflect online, but not in the print copy. So that's where the confusion is.
Well, I hear you loud and clear. It's just like the newspaper that was published yesterday and the one that get published today. But my concern is about the citizen.
Okay.
The Sanders here in the town of Littleton love this town, and we care about this town, and we care about the people that's in this town. And we're thinking about the people that are not fortunate, that knows how to operate. You got a lot of seniors and some other people that don't know how to operate a computer.
Okay.
So if we got data, I'm saying they'll make it into the clerk's office or they'll make it to the COA. I'm not saying you have to publish a lot of them, but I said having some in those 2 locations at least, we know that we're getting information to those that really concerned about this town. And I think everybody's concerned, but I think seniors have a special caring about Littleton. They love this town, and I do too. And I just wanted to say I think that's very important that we try to reach them if we can, and letting them know what's going on other than at the town meeting, because that's about the only other time that they get it and watch it on LCTV.
Understood. Okay.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Can I defer to after the orchard?
Anybody else? Okay. moving right along. One-day liquor licenses. These are all for the Rotary Carnival.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't know if it is the gentleman from the Rotary here?
Chris.
Chris here?
No, Chris is on here.
Yeah. I think we had that on the agenda for 7:15, so maybe we could go to another item,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
What's next?
Discussions on Studio G, introduction to the
Is
story.
the-
They'll be here, they'll be present for
Okay,
that.
well, maybe we move up and talk about the orchard.
Sure.
Sure.
So, Okay, so the select board and the orchard working group had a joint meeting a week or so ago to talk about the next steps for the orchard. There was a lot of discussion back and forth on what to do. I've since reached out to a couple of farmers to see that were interested in the orchard, and Matthew and I met with town council last week to talk about some of the next steps, and we just, from my discussions with the orchard working group, they'd really like a new mission statement to sign up, so they know what they're signing up for. So, and I've come up with like 3 points that we can debate and decide if that's what we want to kind of do as a mission statement. One is to draft an RFP for the disposition of the orchard with town input. The second is to determine the criteria for evaluating respondents to that RFP, so whatever the rubric matrix is. And the third is to hold meetings to socialize the plan, whatever we decide, however we're going to go forward.
So you're saying the disposition would not be determined until we have the discussions about whether it's a lease, a purchase, a maintenance agreement?
I think the orchard, most of the members of the orchard working group seem to be leaning towards selling it, but I don't think we necessarily want to say that we're going to sell it until we actually hold more public meetings with MAPC. I'm not opposed to selling it, but I don't know if, a month ago, the town voted not to sell it, so let's get enough information and consensus that selling it is the right thing, if that's what we decide is the right thing. Or we can go forward with a lease or a maintenance agreement or something else, which would get a lot more complicated to do and potentially more expensive, but we can also, as part of this process, say, this is what it's going to cost the town if we enter a maintenance agreement, this is what it's going to cost the town if we do a lease, and then get better justification for whatever of those 3 options we want to go forward with.
So the mission would be to engage with the public and define the next steps?
I think, yeah, that's part of it, yes. What's your opinion?
So this came up at our meeting with the Orchard Working Group, is we did that, and we came up with the next steps.
Yeah.
Right, so,
I think we need to get more information out there, like, what we didn't have was the financial impact on the town, right, is more firm
Yeah.
numbers. So
that could be, that the mission could be.
or the financial impact on, a lessee or something else too, right?
Right. So again, I'm like trying to parse in my head like what the mission is. The mission would be gathering enough information to make a decision on, or to inform the public on what needs to happen to go forward.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we can do that through the MAPC
Yeah.
outreach meetings. And along with that, along with the decision for however we're going, assuming it's a sale, is also like what criteria we'd put into the evaluation into the RFP itself, right? How are we favoring?
Yeah.
I think without knowing how we would be disposing of it, those criteria can differ pretty significantly,
Yeah.
but I think we could still come up with some broad strokes that
Well,
would
I
at
mean,
least,
yeah.
keep moving us keep moving us forward. But I think what you're looking for from somebody who's leasing might not be the exact same thing that you're looking for from somebody who's buying.
That's true.
And so that there's a little bit of cart before the horse, or,
Yeah.
but I think we can get enough broad strokes and overarching themes at least that that we'll have made some progress, if not, finalized it.
And the end result, probably, it could very well be that we still decide that selling is the right answer, but we need to do a better job of educating the public on why that is, potentially financially, right? As well as some of the other, like when we talked to town council about a lease, a lessee will be responsible for whatever the equivalent of property taxes are. So we know what the floor value of charging someone a lease would be.
Right.
Right. So we can start going down some of these financial aspects, and from the information that you've been gathering about potential applicants for a lease, we know what they're looking for from the town. So we can start socializing more of that information that has a financial impact, right, and other impacts, so. And I fully agree that selling is probably the most likely outcome, but we need to bring everyone there.
So speaking as a member of the Orchard Working Group, it feels like the charge of doing the research to determine what it's going to cost to lease, if we're not going to lease, is not.
It's probably not in there. It's
Not-
probably more
Not
on
in the wheelhouse,
on us.
It is, and I think it's on us, and it's probably on town employees, because I think some of it's going to be things like, well, what's the budget for an orchard, and where are we going to get the money, and that sort of question about where the funding sources are is probably going to be relevant to the discussion.
I don't know if we need to come up with funding sources, we just need to come up with the amount.
Yeah. I do think that determining a realistic outcome for each of the possibilities as far as monetary expenses is important.
Yeah.
And I do agree that socializing it with the residents is important, I guess. And I also agree that I'm not sure that the Orchard Working Group's current makeup is the right group to do that. Like, the people who are on there are really focused on, evaluating the property and finding a use for it, which we did. And now we're talking about justifying a use of it, which seems different to me, I guess. So, yeah, maybe it's a different group or on the select board.
One thing the Orchard Working Group, I think, could still assist in, that's directly in their wheelhouse, is getting the APR extended to the barn.
Yeah.
If that's still definitely something we want to do, that could be part of their mission
So I think that's something
statement.
that also should come out of the public input too, because there's advantages and disadvantages of that. Like, if the barn is under an APR, can they convert into a farm stand, for example? What are their restrictions? So before we actually do things like that, we probably need to socialize it a little more with potentially some of the people that would be using it, to see and the public to say, are they agreeing with these restrictions?
I get what you're saying there. I feel like it's so far into the weeds.
Yeah.
Public input is always helpful,
Yeah.
but I think ultimately that's going to need to be an executive decision.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
subject matter experts need to make the decision on that, I think, about, I understand people's feelings about the barn, but.
Right, but to your point, based on, public input is, one factor that can weigh in.
I'm saying for the extending an APR to the barn is not necessarily a bad thing, but we should evaluate what it means and what it really means, and not just the public input, but talk to some farmers and say what it means for them, right? And then explain to the public what it would mean and see.
I guess I feel like we know all those things. One of the reasons we wanted to put the barn into APR was because of public input. It was because there was such a pushback against development. and so much pushback about a fear of the unprotected areas of the orchard getting flipped and sold off again. And so the move to put the barn into APR was a result of public opinion.
To protect it.
Right, but I agree, but there's a difference between putting the barn in the APR and the property that the barn is on. Right.
No, I think I think the point was the barn, the structure should be in the APR to avoid it being converted into something that's not used for agriculture.
But a farm stand,
No, because there's retail carve-outs for agriculture. That kind of stuff is fine.
my understanding is it's not as trivial to do as one would think through
I mean,
MDR.
it may not be
We should just be
trivial,
clear.
but it's been done.
I think anything above and beyond a farm stand, including a farm stand that sells things that aren't directly from that farm, might get dicier quicker. So it's a restriction, right? It's APR, that's what it stands for.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it feels to some extent like the mission of the Orchard Working Group is to do the same thing and do a better job of justifying the decision and educating the public on the decision that we made. In some ways, I mean, we talked about at our last board meeting, we talked about, well, do we want to go out for another lease? And you and I talked to Jenny about making that RFP much, much simpler.
Jenny being town council.
Sorry.
For the,
Jenny Merrill,
Yeah.
Miari's in Harrington. I wonder if, and I think that might get some traction with someone who wants to lease it, but the same issues with the lease that were present before the town meeting vote are still present, which is responsibility of the town and fiscal responsibility of the town, and no long-term solution. We're just postponing the problems and paying money while we do it, in a way. And granted, we are maintaining the property a little bit better, but it doesn't really solve a whole lot of problems that I'm aware of. So I'm willing to continue forward on the working group under that new mission, but I don't know whether the rest of the members will be interested as well.
Yeah. So. Any?
yeah, I think it's a little bit of like, do what you did, but do it again.
Which is fair. Maybe that's what we need to do, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think anybody but the folks on the Orchard Working Group or who have been serving on the Orchard Working Group can get us through those public sessions
Yeah.
with the right information, so I think, to me, that's sort of one of the most critical things that we need is assistance or facilitation or whatever support to get those meetings conducted.
I also think the Orchard Working Group has brought the process a long way in the past year. I mean, this time last year, we were talking about the orchards having to be all orchard effectively, and now we're talking about it being all agriculture.
Right.
Right, which is a huge step forward.
That's true.
Yep.
And it opens up the pool of applicants tremendously.
That's
So
true as well.
We have a lot more
Yeah.
potential. We just have to realize that potential.
And, I do think the members, even if they decide to leave, would be happy to take part in those public input sessions. I think that the long-term obligations of biweekly meetings and hours is what they don't want to do.
Right.
For the same result.
Yeah,
So-
that's what I heard as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
okay.
So that sounds like what we're interested in doing.
So I know there was public comment on the orchard, so.
Rob Rounce, 25 Juniper Road. So I'm a little bit surprised that I think, as you know, I attended that meeting as well. And there's a sense of real urgency that I heard from the ad hoc working group with regard to farming it, with regard to aspects of what was referred to as Sarah's safety list. So is Sarah's safety list approved? Is that happening so that okay, so that's been approved. I know Ryan was probably tasked with regard to acreage cost with regard to removing the damaged trees? Has that been approved? You know, is there
What do you mean by approved?
I'm asking if, I don't think there are any funds previously identified and
No.
allocated for the removal of the trees.
For
So the
removal
question-
of the trees, there are no funds currently. There are funds for the emergency repairs if they're within, I think we have a $20,000 budget.
Right, once we quantify what that, you know, we have the list now, which before we really didn't have, so now we've got a list. We're gonna try to figure that out, and then subsequently go to the finance committee for reserve fund transfer.
Okay, so it's on those points that I thought there was a real sense of urgency with regard to, I won't list them, but numerous members, multiple members of the ad hoc working group saying, farm it now, farm it soon, farm it small if need be, but farm it. Evaluate your options from previous respondents with regard to, can they work within the lanes of the orchard or not, but all those sorts of things, but get it on quickly. And then I also felt there was a real urgency, which you folks probably are doing everything you can with regard to evaluate MAPC, you know, socialize references. But when are we going to know when that is? Because I'm of the opinion that financial dollars with regard to an exactness, it's not needed at all. It's already more than well known, and Stephen Nudie at that group responded, the town doesn't have the money to clear all the damaged trees, and yet the diseased trees, damaged trees are impacting abutters. So we've got numerous issues that are already right in front of the select board and the town residents who voted down, and I'm in disagreement with the vote. So a sense of urgency, how quickly are we going to know some of these things? Because I'm looking to move, as some of you know, potentially very quickly to force another vote from a voter petition perspective. And I'm not hearing anything that's going to allow me to determine whether I'm, you know, doing that, you know, tomorrow morning. I was waiting for this meeting, but now I'm getting this meeting and I'm not certain I'm farther along.
So I'll try and answer some of the questions. And so there, to farm it at all, we have to put out an RFP that has not been written, right? So we'd have to put an RFP for someone to come in. We haven't, when we did, one of the questions that was asked before was like Church Meadows, what the process was there. There was an RFP put out, and then we had one respondent, and then we signed an agreement with that respondent. So we can do something like that, but by the time you put out an RFP for a farming and evaluate them, you're going to lose most of your farming ability for whatever you could farm without removing the trees. As far as removing the trees, we're getting a quote for removing the trees. I'm still not sure what the Orchard Working Group prefers for removing the trees, if we want to get a quote for removing just the damaged trees, if we're trying to clear a field or what, but we need to get the quote first so we then have an idea how much it's going to cost to know that if there are funds to even just remove the damaged trees or what we have to do.
We're getting a quote for all of those possibilities,
Yeah,
right? So then we'll decide.
Yeah, so we don't know how much it is to remove the trees yet to know how many trees we could afford to remove, so.
Okay, so, and apologize, I'm speaking out of turn, but I did hear at some length, some aspects of maintenance agreement, and want to clarify if a maintenance agreement can be signed by you folks for not to exceed a term of 3 years, and if that maintenance agreement establishes that it satisfies aspects of the APR covenant or whatever that regulation compliance is, then that would seem to be extremely responsive with regard to getting on with it, with regard to some of those members saying, farm it now, that sort of thing. So I'm not certain why not hearing more about that option and getting you folks who seem to have that authority to take that action to the next step very, very quickly, as I think the working group more than stated was their request.
So there are three possibilities for the orchard. We can enter in a maintenance agreement, we can enter a lease agreement, we can enter, or we can sell it. All three require us to write and go out for RFP, through the RFP process. So we could do, the restriction on a maintenance agreement is we can't sign any maintenance agreement for more than 3 years without town meeting approval. So getting a farmer to come in to to spend any of their money to do something for 3 years is likely slim to none chances, right? We would be paying them to maintain the orchard at that point, and we're back to the point, we don't have funds to pay them to maintain the orchard, so we're back to asking for the funds at town meeting or future. So as frustrating it is that this can't move faster, there's a lot of moving parts that I mean, the RFP process, I think even if we had the RFP written right now, it's still a month process, I believe, at least, right?
yeah.
Before we could even evaluate and hire someone.
And for the Orchard Working Group, this is a farmer's busiest season, so do we want to release an RFP at the height of summer?
I apologize.
Yeah,
I didn't
so-
understand that an RFP would be required for a less than 3-year maintenance agreement.
It's how much money the RFP would be worth, either how much we would be spending or they would be spending. That's where it
Okay.
comes into.
If the value of the crop is greater than some figure, and it was.
Or if we're giving them more than a
Right,
certain
then
figure.
it needs to go through the formal bid process, and that requires an RFP.
Okay.
And she gave us, the council gave us examples of how quickly that amount can add up over 3 years. It's very easy for it to be above, and so she advised that we should probably go out for RFP on that.
So I apologize if by questions my tone present seems to be adversarial. It's not. I know you folks are putting in tons of really good effort and good time. But that is to say that I think in my tone you're hearing what I heard at that meeting, in several meetings, of the real urgency and the frustration of the working group in different aspects with this with regard to immediacy and time. And so I just leave you and thank you again for allowing me to speak longer, 2 minutes in the dialogue back and forth. But I would like to know before having to scout an agenda about that MAPC meeting. That seems to be a critical element, and it's in one of those sessions in which socializing or whatever it is that we're doing here would really allow for that give and take and a broader understanding from people like me that all of a sudden are quite interested in trying to listen to the ad hoc working group, listen to you folks, understand the complexities, and get on with it. So thank you for your time.
So we've reached out to MAPC. I think the next step is probably for the working group to get together and discuss next steps and who's going to be on it and what we're going to do. But I do agree with you that those public meetings are probably the next point where we can get information from the public and disseminate information about what our plans are and get some feedback on what we should do.
Okay.
So-
At the working group, and I really will leave. At the working group, there was discussion of why have this education session now for a November meeting. I'm not in that camp. I'm in need that process ASAP, as soon as it can be properly done, et cetera.
It's sort of how we feel about leasing or maintenance agreement, as soon as it can be properly
Okay,
done.
that's helpful
Yeah.
here. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments on the orchard? Okay. So,
Okay.
Yeah, we can move over back to the licenses.
Okay.
so we have the several one-day liquor licenses for the Rotary Carnival. Do you want to say anything, Chris? Promote.
Say that again?
You can do your promotion. You can.
I came to answer, Chris Alphen, 163 King Street, president of the Rotary Club of Littleton. I came to answer any questions you might have.
When's the carnival?
It's June 20th through the 23rd.
And where will it be held?
We have tickets on me if you want. It's at the IBM property.
And will it indeed be fun for the whole family?
It will be, yeah, definitely, and the adults too.
Objection, meeting the witness.
Yes.
Well done, Kevin. Well done.
Those are my questions.
Okay. How much fun will it be? Okay.
I didn't know if there was a problem with the hours of the liquor license. Has that been?
Yeah, so Chris makes the point that in our policies that typically we limit the one-day licenses to 5 hours.
Right.
So just so you're aware, this would be a bit of a divergence from your typical policy in that we're extending it beyond that 5-hour window. So what you'd be signing, I think, would be like a 5-hour plus a 4-hour, so depending on what it is. So that's what's, but then the actual times here reflect the hours that the beer gardens will be open. Is it beer gardens, Chris? Is that what you're calling it, or?
Yeah, that's the best name we came up with.
Okay.
The
Growing
police,
beer.
the police and
Yeah.
fire were aware of those extended hours and still signed off on
That's
them.
correct, that's, yeah.
Is my understanding. Okay.
Yeah, okay, no objections from anybody, right?
Great.
Okay,
I think so.
so we're ready for a motion?
Unless you have anything further?
No, as long as that gets through, we're good.
When you get the votes, Jim, stop. Chris, when you get the votes.
I got
Good.
them in the motion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're doing these as 3 separate motions, I
Correct.
assume? Okay. Move that the select board vote to approve the application submitted by Pours and Bites LLC, owner-operator Eric Christensen, for a special one-day wine and malt-only pouring license for 4 days, June 20, 21, 22, and 23, 2024, under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 14, for the Rotary Club Carnival to be held at 550 King Street, Littleton, Mass. For the following days and times: Thursday, June 20th, 6 to 10 p.m., Friday, June 21st, 6 to 11 p.m., Saturday, June 22nd, 1 to 11 p.m., Sunday, June 23rd, 1 to 9 p.m.
Second.
Been moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move that the select board vote to approve the application submitted by Concord Brewing, Inc., DBA Rapscallion, owner-operator Peter Daniel, for a special one-day wine and malt-only pouring license for 4 days, June 20, 21, 22, and 23, 2024, under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 14, for the Rotary Club Carnival to be held at 550 King Street, Littleton, Mass. For the following days and times: Thursday, June 20th, 6 to 10 p.m., Friday, June 21st, 6 to 11 p.m., Saturday, June 22nd, 1 to 11 p.m., Sunday, June 23rd, 1 to 9 p.m.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move that the select board vote to approve the application submitted by Sterling Street Brewery owner-operator Jesse Tarbell for a special one-day wine and malt-only pouring license for 4 days, June 20, 21, 22, and 23, 2024, under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 14, for the Rotary Club Carnival to be held at 550 King Street, Littleton, Mass. For the following days and times: Thursday, June 20th, 6 to 10 p.m., Friday, June 21st, 6 to 11 p.m., Saturday, June 22nd, 1 to 11 p.m., Sunday, June 23rd, 1 to 9 p.m.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There's 8 of these each, is that right?
Yes, yes. 2. One set for us, one set for them.
Good luck at the carnival. Where can people buy tickets? Are they just going to be on the, at the
Excellent
date?
question.
Online, right now,
At,
fiestashows.com, I think it is.
And they're discounted. Buy as a guest.
Great.
Excellent.
Did you,
okay, Studio G.
All right, Mr. Chair, if I could, Studio G, we have Principal Gail Sullivan and her team here, as well as from Turner Townsend and Erie, our OPM, Suresh, here representing, again, our OPM. So we have a little presentation. A little bit of this flows from the fact that just a week ago on Monday, the team visited 3 different elementary schools in the area with Studio G and with Turner Townsend and Erie. Representatives from the school as well, and school staff, to get some ideas about what we want to see in the new Shaker Lane Elementary School, as well as trying to get a better sense about what we could do in terms of whether renovation or replacement for the school makes more sense. So very productive visit on that front. We were we're all over the east coast of the state. We started out in Westwood and then made our way up north to Danvers and then south to Easton. So a long day, but a very productive day. And with that, Studio G then followed up and asked all of the attendees to fill out a Google survey about things we liked about each school, what sort of features we wanted to see in the next school. So large group, I think, 15 or so people of us moving caravan, moving through all those places. And, no one got lost as far as I could tell. So that was, in and of itself, impressive. So it was a great session and a great event. But with that, I think, Gail, if you want to come up, I have the presentation queued up here. So if you'd like to start off. And maybe Gail can also introduce the other members of the team, our new design team.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gail Sullivan, as Ryan said, Managing Principal of Studio G Architects, and with me, Steve Mitchner and Merrill Nisler, and they are both on the team. Oh, and it's up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So efficient, thank you. So we're really delighted to be here, and we had a great tour, I will say, from our perspective. We appreciated all the people who took time, an entire workday, to go on that tour, and I think it'll be really valuable. So let's just switch, thanks to the next. So Ryan had asked us to come and introduce ourselves to you all, and we really welcome that opportunity. So a little bit about Studio G. We are a women-owned firm. We have been around for 31 years, and we have completed 400 plus projects. And to the next, really is going to be short. We do a variety of different things for where people live and learn and work and play and gather. But there's two kind of key threads for us in our work. If you go to the next, housing is a very key thread. Since our beginning, we have always done housing, primarily affordable and supportive housing. And then the other, which I'm going to let Steve talk about a little bit, more relevant to you all tonight, is education.
It's this slide right here. My 17 years at Studio G, we've been doing schools for that amount of time. It really was a development from child care centers, and then we moved into that a natural progression there. And some of there's just a few here. We did plenty of charter schools, and we've done MSBA schools as well. You see Mountain View is that middle image there, and we're just in the final stages of construction for the Florence Roach School, just down the next town over here in Groton. And what we've managed to do in all these schools is provide beautiful buildings for the school districts on schedule and on budget, and work with the clients to achieve their goals. This is our project team for Littleton right now. We have, you can see the Studio G folks. This will be the main folks that you'll be working with here. Three of us are in the room here, and then Mary Lee, who you've met as well, and Keely, and of course there'll be other people in our office working. You also met Mike and Paul on the tours. David Larson, the landscape architect, and his firm, and then GGD, the mechanical engineers who we've worked with on other schools before, as well as Foley Buell, the structural engineers. This makes your team for this project. And Meryl's going to tell us about next.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So the next step's the MSBA process, a lot of acronyms, right? So we're learning MSBA, PDP, PSR, we'll get there. So this is the process that we're taking everybody through. And here we are in the feasibility study at this moment. We started with visioning, and our next step is community engagement. So I was thrilled to see this upstairs. I'm curious about the carnival. So how do we reach everybody as far as giving you the information as a town that you need to disseminate as quickly and accurately as possible what's happening with the Shaker Lane School. So how can we get that information out there, but also it's also receiving information, so it really goes two ways. So we're pulling together a survey at the moment that we're gonna have a QR code where folks can either click on it to see, so they can provide input. We want to hear far and wide. We want to hear things early and often. So that's where we're at right now at the moment. Something else in the feasibility study is we're going to be looking at, as Ryan mentioned, different design options. So we're looking at an upgrade, a code upgrade option for the school. Addition renovation is also another option, or new construction. So we're going to be studying that in the coming weeks and months that we're going to share with the school building committee. Some other things that we're working on currently are providing materials, so things that we can give to you to put on the project website. And essentially, it all comes down to the ED program. So we'll help you in the district as far as getting the ED program to a good spot as far as the program goes, which is how we build a school for the community. So the next slide, I think, is I'll hand it off to Suresh. So.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting us. I'm Suresh Bhatia with Turner Townsend Heary in Atlantic. So this is the schedule. We have gone through the process of the selection of the architect, as you just met, and going through the schematic design process, which has 3 different components that we'll be going through with the MSBA, and they have pretty strict deadlines that we need to follow. So we kind of manage the project downhill towards the architect designer and the contractor, and then uphill with the building committee to make sure all the deadlines are met, and then getting back to the town because certain things have to be signed by the town and the school administration. So we try to make that happen and make the schedule happen, because you can't afford to miss a deadline with MSBA because suddenly you get pushed back by 2 months. So everything is, since the board meets every 2 months. So that's how we try to work throughout. And our goal is to get the project, like Studio G mentioned, on budget, on time, and get you through and hit you a school that the community is really, happy about to have it. So with that, any questions? We are here to answer.
When is so you're starting to hold public info sessions on this over the summer? Is that the plan? And I can't, that's awfully small font for my eyes. When's the plan on the disposition of the school finalized? Whether it's a renovation or an addition or a new school?
So that's, I'd say, within the next 3 months or so. So we're presenting as part of the PDP, preliminary design program. So this is where we're studying different options, new construction, code upgrades only, and addition, so different variations, and we'll have input from the SBC as far as the directionality to go with that. So MSBA is very report oriented, so we'll have basically our due diligence of the existing building to see what's standing there right now. And then we're also going to be studying the different options in the coming weeks. So. Okay.
So roughly speaking, sometime this fall or by the end of the year, we know what the option we're intending to go forward.
Right, so so the top one on group 3 has this ramped up, it's really small. What was your schedule? So we were, it's probably by the end of the summer, we're gonna have a direction.
Okay.
No questions for me?
The survey that you mentioned, roughly when is that coming out so folks can keep an eye out?
Sure, so we're drafting it up right now to make sure the questions are broad enough that we get everyone's input, and also specific enough that we can use the information as well. So we're working on a draft right now back at our office, and we're happy to share it for review before it goes out. We were gonna send it to some key players that we've already been communicating with to make sure that we're on target with the questions that we're asking, because your community best, we're learning, but we want to make sure that we're really honing in on what we need to know from you all, or discussions that have been happening over past decades that we may not know about, but want to make sure that we're addressing what the concerns are.
So we should get that survey in the newsletter if it will be up roughly, if it's up in early July, we can.
Sure.
If you can send them the link now.
Yeah. We want to make sure it's at a good spot before we start distributing, but for sure we're working on that.
You have 3 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, we got it. No problem. So yeah, we'll work with you all as maybe Ryan. Yeah. We can work with Ryan on that to get that.
Okay.
So this is really just an important kickoff. We're going to be spending lots of time with our OPM and Studio G. This is really the beginning, and we wanted to introduce some of the key players to you who are going to be presenting information back to you, back to the school committee, and also engaging with the community to hear what they want to see as well. So it's going to be, it's starting to get more real now. And this is going to be a big project. We anticipate at some point this is going to also be a request for an override to pay for this new school in whatever form it takes. So it's a very serious thing, but we've got, I think, a great team in place with Turner Townsend and Hearing and Studio G. We're going to be working with them and hand in hand. I think we actually have our kickoff meeting tomorrow with MSBA. So we're making great progress. But if this is anything, I just wanted to kind of give you a sense, the select board, just to, again, know who the players are, what our rough schedule is looking like over the next few months, and let you know this is making progress. So it's been very good so far, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with our colleagues from Studio G and Turner Townsend here.
Have you guys done net zero schools?
No. Well, go ahead.
Not yet. We are ready and willing.
Yeah.
So we are doing net zero housing, but we haven't yet done a school.
I know there's been a couple built in the area, so
Yeah.
they weren't mentioned on your list of tours, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, none of the three were net zero.
Mm-hmm. But they were LEED, I think at least one of them was LEED certified, so.
Any mass school building authority project at this point has to be minimum LEED silver.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we'll have those discussions with the school building committee, but we'd certainly propose to go further than that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If I could, I'd love to add one other comment that none of us mentioned, and I just realized is important when you mentioned the potential of an override. So one of the things that we do in this PDP process and through the PSR, which is the Preferred Schematic Report, is we're working closely with the OPM team and with the superintendent to make sure that the design ideas, the education plan, everything aligns to get you the maximum contribution from the MSBA possible. So money is always a critical issue for every community. And I just wanted to mention that because that's something that Suresh's team and we will be working very closely to do. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's actually very interesting too, going in the tours and the choices that different, seeing the tours and talking to the school principals who gave us those tours in terms of how they structured the building and what choices they made within that to do just that, to maximize that reimbursement, things that MSBA may or may not reimburse on. So that's all part of the tactical decisions that we're going to be making. So it's, again, very enlightening going on that tour and seeing how they approach that. So it's a very good point. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. George Sanders, 672 Great Road. I just had a small question I wanted to ask. I know that we have 3 items here: add on, renovate, or build a new school. Has the town determined a location if they're going to build a new school? Have they determined where that will be?
I think, George, that'll be one of the things that we'd look at in terms of other possibilities. It'll probably be sort of a desktop exercise in trying to see what our options would be. Yeah, that would be something else we'll be looking at.
Yeah, and I would assume that there would be major renovation if you did it, and I just wonder how has the school looked at that particular aspect of it.
Right, so that's part of the feasibility side of it, right? To take the existing buildings you have, how would you integrate those buildings as well as reflect, sort of the needs of what a K-2 school would be, and whether or not that would be feasible with the structures that we have now. Keep in mind, the oldest part of that school was built in 1963, so,
Well, I know it's an old school, and I know that major work has been done to it, but nowadays they can perform miracles with them.
Yeah, but that's good points, George, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Discuss town meeting articles 31 and 32.
So I should recuse myself from the 31, which means we don't have a quorum. So I didn't realize that there would be 2 people absent tonight. So we can have, I think we could definitely discuss 32, but I don't think we should discuss 31 unless it's just a discussion without a quorum, in which case, what's the point?
Right. I agree.
Yeah, so I'll leave it to Mr. Sanders.
I didn't quite hear what the gentleman said.
Mr. Sanders, I'll need to recuse myself from any discussion of Article 31, and therefore there wouldn't be a quorum tonight, because I didn't realize that Mr. DeCoste and Mr. Wilson would be absent.
Oh, okay,
We can discuss Article 32, however.
okay,
Okay, and we can put 31 on another agenda.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, so
George Sanders, 672 Great Road. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board here tonight. My concern in this town is always looking for the betterment of this town. And I know that this market with marijuana is something that is new, and the town sort of kind of went along after the state.
let's skip the marijuana one for now, because Matthew can't participate.
okay,
So let's just do the
okay.
other one, please. Thank you.
Okay. Well, which one are we going to discuss? 32,
32 says it's the public hearings.
the public hearing. 32, the public hearing. Sorry about that. Okay. I had just the reverse of that. Okay, with the public hearings, here's my take on this. I think that whoever's the chair of any committee, irregardless, for instance, like tonight, we had an update here about the school. And that was a question to me, and I'm just rolling around in my head as to what was going on, because when you mentioned the categories that they was looking at, and I sort of kind of want to know, well, I would think if you're going into some major project spending that kind of money, there's a few things that the town or the school should have available to them, that knowing what you're going to do. And like I said, if you're going to build a new school, do you have a location where you're going to build it? I think that's important. I think the most important thing is how you treat people that comes to this meeting, first and foremost. And they come here for a reason, to hear what you all have to say and what is going on in the town. And when you get updates about projects in the town, you're talking about taxpayers' money that's going to be spent. And I believe that taxpayers have the right to want to know as much information they can about the money that's going to be spent. I mean, that's just common sense. They're paying the taxes. And I think that anytime a board or committee or commission decides that that they have the authority to shut you down when they give you permission to talk and you're talking on the subject that they gave you permission to do so, it is wrong of them to shut you down until you finish what you had to say. I mean, that's just common courtesy. That's the way it happens. That's the way it works in parliament procedure. And I would like to say that I think anytime someone comes up and asks something about something, it's pertinent to them with regards to whatever the matter is. And I think that if we listen to you or we listen to the presenter, I think that you should also give the courtesy of listening to what they have to say, because they are the body of this town and you're the body of this town. So we need to collaborate in terms of hearing what people have to say about this or that. And it's not a big issue that we need to make a bylaw about it. I just think that maybe we need to educate ourselves about government in the sense that government belongs to the people. And if government belongs to the people, then we should be providing information and giving them opportunity, because the First Amendment gives you the right to petition your government. And when I first came to Littleton, because I came from a city, you had to present a petition for whatever you wanted to talk or discuss. And when I came here, Mr. Tim Goddard was the town administrator at that time. And he said, "Oh, George, you don't have to do that." He said, "You can just send the information in." He says, "Hey, we'll take it from there, and put it on the agenda and so forth. You don't have to do the petition and all that." I said, "Well, okay, if that's the way you do it, then that's fine by me. I have no problem with that. But as a citizen, I like to present stuff, and I put a lot of time and effort into stuff, and I don't like to get up and argue with somebody about something or make a scene about something. I'd rather do the stroke of the pen. As a person used to tell me all the time, it's easier to stroke the pen than it is to run the mouth. So I always like to take and put stuff in writing and go that way, in which I collected the signatures to put that matter on there, because I deemed it necessary, number one, and there was other people that signed it, thought it was a good idea as well, that nobody should be holding back and not letting you speak and ask questions about monies that they are spending that we are paying as taxes. And that was my main concern about that, and it's because, I'm in charge and I don't have to let you talk. Well, you may be in charge, that's fine and dandy. And if you deem it's necessary that you don't have to let somebody talk because you are the chair, my concern with regards to that, I don't think you being as courteous to the citizens that come here and listen to what is being said here. And if someone presents something and they have a question that it's not going to take a long time to do in terms of asking it, extend a little courtesy to people and let people feel welcome here. That's what we should feel when we come to this place here. We should feel welcome to come here and listen to what someone has to say and to present to us. And we should show a little bit of courtesy and say, just let the person, like Mr. Rammacher did here a few months ago. God threw up a hand, he said, come on up. I appreciate that, because that tells me you have a leader here among you that is willing to hear another viewpoint or question to something that has been said here, or maybe it hasn't been said here, that that person would like to get an answer to. So I'm appreciative of that, and I think that, as this board, in most cases, I would say that we've had the opportunity as people in this town to come before, I would say, pretty much most boards, and be able to express ourselves to the point that with reason, there are a few people that get long-winded about stuff when you come up and they say 2 minutes, and then 2 minutes go by, and then they say 2 more minutes, and say I'm almost finished, and they keep going. But nevertheless, it's still information, and that person is trying to get everything out that he or she wants to say. And I just think that I'm not so critical to the fact that we need to do a bylaw. I think, as I said previously, it's more of an education thing to me, that people respect people with dignity and understand that when they come here, they need to treat you with respect and dignity, and you need to treat them with respect and dignity. And people will always have questions, or they'll be curious about something that was said, and they don't hear it at a point come to the surface, and then they may raise their hand and want to ask that particular question about whatever it is. So that's sort of kind of where I stand with this, with regards to that. I did speak at a little length of time to the chair of this board with regards to this particular thing, and that's why I sent to the town administrator and asked him that, put it on the agenda, because I think it's important that we remember that we're all people and we all like to be treated with courtesy and respect. And those of us that stand up here are obligated to treat you with courtesy and respect as we speak to you. We shouldn't have to holler and do stuff like that, but that's where I sort of kind of stand, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So I did meet with Mr. Sanders last week and we talked about this, and I agree with a lot of his comments that we should generally allow people to speak on a wide variety of issues, not necessarily every issue in front of us. There are some things that we shouldn't necessarily take public comment on, but generally we should do this more. And not to throw Karen under the bus here, but when we're talking about public comment, we do have a specific policy that we don't address public comment, right? And that was through the Supreme Judicial Court, I think's recommendation and town council. So if you ask us a question during public comment, we may not answer your question, but generally, other than that, I think we should make sure that we give the people here at our meetings every chance to speak on the issues. So.
I agree, and I'm obviously in favor of transparency and communication. I would point out that the Supreme Court of Massachusetts has ruled that you do not need to be respectful of us, and you are not obligated, we cannot limit speech based on tone or the content based on personal attacks. We can only kick you out if you're disruptive. So you're free to use invective or any kind of profanity that you want, and there's nothing we can do about it legally. Nevertheless, I agree that it doesn't work well when that happens. I think a bylaw is probably not a great idea because first of all, we don't have necessarily any authority over other elected boards. And I think that a lot of probably the impetus for this came from some of the other elected boards in town. And I don't think that the select board necessarily has the right to, say what they can or can't do. I'm also worried that listing projects, for example, it's hard to define you have to define what a project is. But if there was, you're right, it's education. Like we need to find a way to make the communication polite and meaningful in those board meetings. And when we find a way to do that, we'll all be happy.
Well,
I don't know what that way is right now.
Yeah, I would just say that, as you well know, this body is the head of this government. So you may have other appointed boards with stature and so forth and so on. They may have the criteria to operate with a certain, but when it comes to them spending money and so forth and so on, they got to come to the head of this board of this government, along with the advice that you get from FinCom as to how you spend taxpayers' money. Mm-hmm. So you hold the purse on that. So I realize that even with the school, which is a separate entity, that they get X dollars from the state, they get X dollars from the feds, and then they come to you and say, look, we need X dollars from you too. So I understand that. Believe me when I tell you, I understand government and I understand how it operates. And I know what you can do when you talk about elected officials and politicians. I know. But it is, in my opinion, it is better to treat people with dignity and respect. You give it, you shall receive it. I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I like your t-shirt.
Thank you.
The meeting schedule. I think I'm on vacation all of those dates.
All those days.
I have a question.
Sure.
I was looking this over. There's not one scheduled, a meeting scheduled for August 26th. Is that intentional?
Right, it's sort of being on the summer schedule.
Okay.
We're trying to, so with that, if Mr. the Chair, so we also have on Monday, July 29th, but we have that as optional, which is to say that we're trying to do for the summer schedule to provide a little relief and recognition. I think, you know, Jim and I have vacations scheduled as well, really looking to have us so that there's one meeting in July and one meeting in August.
Thank
So
you.
at least that's what the thinking is. So, you know, hopefully, if there isn't anything of real need, then Monday the 29th would be optional. So, you know, with that, everything else kind of lays out. There is one change that I want to note is that on Monday, November 4th, we have the tax classification informational session. What we've been proposing is to change that just similar to what we did this year, which is just one session, which will be the information session / hearing. That worked very well. I talked today with Kathy, and she'd like to do that again. If that's acceptable to the board, because it doesn't make it as tight for us to have to set the tax rate. So doing that on the 4th would be much appreciated. So that is a change than what's here. And then the other thing would be, and we'll talk a little bit more about that with our other item, which is we have checked in with the town clerk and the town moderator to propose our special town meeting date of Tuesday, October 29th. So it's a few days before Halloween, which sometimes we come into conflict with, and that date worked for both the town clerk and the town moderator. So that's our recommendation for you here, and then we go through on some of these other dates through December, and basically the end of this calendar year.
So my question is, if the warrant opens on the 29th, what day does it close?
So that's the next schedule, which we can talk about.
I just wondered if we're opening it on one meeting and we're closing it on the next.
Right.
September 14th, it looks like, is the closing date.
So we only have one intervening meeting?
Pretty much, yeah. That's right, because it's the August, and then we would be looking on August 12th is when we're going to be opening the special town meeting warrant. We then have a meeting on the 9th, and then we'd be the closing of the warrant, at least until for publicly submitted articles and from boards and committees would be taking place on Saturday, September 14th.
And it goes to print on...
Yeah, I can go into...
No, I'm just trying to figure out if we if we have enough meetings scheduled around that.
Sure.
The only question.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, let me open the other one, and then we can take a look at that schedule as well, in terms of what we're looking at, the draft. So basically, what we're looking for here, key days here, would that be at your Monday, August 12th meeting, would be to open, basically open the warrant at that time. And then we'll be looking for the select board to insert articles basically and have a draft that you'd be comfortable with as on September 23rd. So basically it puts us into a little over 1 month to put things together. You'd also be making recommendations on articles at your September 23rd meeting. Town warrant would then be posted on October 22nd. The report would be going to the printer on September 26th and mailed out hopefully on Thursday, October 10th. So, which is the 2 weeks beforehand. So. When we do this, typically we try to keep it a little bit flexible, so if there's a special meeting that we need to have or anything of that nature, we can always throw that in, but this is between this and our other select board meetings. We are be meeting again on the 21st. At that point, the things will already be closed, but you, in October,
Well, we're opening it on the 12th, and then we have 2 follow-up meetings before we have.
in essence,
so-
yes.
And we could meet on the Monday between the 9th and the 23rd if we
could,
had
if
to.
necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
so-
right. And a lot of that depends on what, what's on the warrant. Are there going to be anything controversial? We talked a little bit earlier about planning with the orchard, and if something is going to come back at that time, what form will that take? That will probably be something of note, but it really depends, and but we can insert things, and typically the board's been very flexible with that, and we certainly appreciate that, because sometimes you need to incorporate the views of the finance committee as well with that, and so that's important. But this is what we have as a draft select board agenda for the rest of the year, and of course for the and with a note, a caveat to that the November 4th meeting, you will also be voting and planning to vote on a tax rate at that time. So.
And just on that, the December meetings, we're not going to be starting the budget until January. Effectively, the joint meetings will be in the
Probably
next.
wouldn't kick in until January, right? I think that we finished the budget last year, in terms of submission, after Christmas that week.
Okay.
After, so in that ballpark, yeah. So I think anything earlier than that to do any joint meetings would be challenging, especially around the holidays when people aren't as available. So again, that's your draft select board meeting schedule and then draft the special town meeting, which again we're proposing for Tuesday, October 29th at the middle school.
All those dates work for me.
Yeah, I didn't see any major conflicts. I won't be here for all of them, but I'll plan strategically as best I can. One question I had was for the special town meeting timeline, do we make it a practice to send that to all the committee and commission chairs?
We would, but right now it's to say this schedule is before you to decide whether.
Correct, but my question is in terms of protocol, is that something we've done in the past?
Yeah. I think with your approval tonight to say, yes, this looks like a good schedule, then we would send that out accordingly.
Because I think there's certainly several, I've heard from other committees and groups that, I didn't realize that the deadline was this early to get anything, moving. So as soon as this is approved, if we can send that out, maybe with the deadline highlighted for boards, committees to submit their articles, that might be helpful for them to plan ahead.
That's a good suggestion, yeah.
Okay.
So ready for a motion?
Yeah.
Did you move that the board vote to schedule regular meetings for the remainder of 2024 as reflected and updated based on the discussion tonight and the attached schedule?
Second.
Moved by Matthew, second by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Move that the select board vote to approve the October 29th, 2024 special town meeting schedule as reflected and updated in the attached schedule.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, second by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and we'll get that out to all of board chairs.
Great.
So thank you, Karen.
Townwide truck policies. I don't know if this was talking about both the Taylor Street truck restriction and the Jake braking, I believe, and how we wanted to move forward, and how we're driving forward on that. I don't know if we want to table this without Gary here, or if you want to talk more what you were.
I think waiting for everyone to be here, or at least some more of us to
Or we
be here
can
is more.
talk about it at our retreat to figure out how to
We can talk about it at the
forward.
retreat, yeah. I'm happy to work on certainly I'm happy to work on the Jake break part of it.
Okay, so. Town governance transition.
Well, Ryan and I had a discussion with the Collins Center from Boston. They are another public entity, being of higher education, that they also have, as you know, an organization from within that offers assistance through to municipalities on various different things, from interim appointments to different studies and different initiatives that local municipalities would like to do. So with that said, Ryan and I had scheduled a call with them, and we spoke with Anthony, who oversees any municipality that wants to make a transition from the town administrator form of government to a town manager form of government. And it is something that we talked in general terms without any specifics, but a few high points that we took away from that meeting. It would take about 8 to 9 months from beginning to end. A committee would have to be, a charter commission actually, would have to be formed that would consist of approximately between 7 and 9 individuals. And there would be a tremendous amount of outreach in looking for public input is key, and it's almost to a tremendous amount, and being available, and whether that's having meetings through different parts of the community, or just frequently just completely doing outreach, and as the progress as the local charter would be developing, to be able to be sharing that every step of the way along, because as you all know, identifying a charter is a Herculean effort. It is very, very difficult. And there is a number of different iterations that happens over the course of the many months, until finally that it would go and be presented at a town meeting, and leading up to that. So there would be so many, there would be something that's ultimately that we just went through, being familiar with the MBTA communities. Between you would hold the different meetings, questions and answers. We would have the Collins Center there to help answer any questions. We would also have already, homework would be done for communities that Ryan and I are aware of that have made the transition, and try and anticipate some of those questions, concerns, or anything like that as we go forward. And then after that, on thinking optimistically that it is adopted at town meeting, we then have to look at the state legislature, in which have to and bring it before for the state for them to adopt it and recognize it, and then what beyond that, we really don't have any further details beyond that at this point.
So let's back up and dumb this down for everyone. So the difference, can you define for everyone the difference between an administrator and a moderator, so that
Manager.
Manager, sorry.
Okay. Well, right now, I'm going to speak specifically for Littleton. There is no charter commission, so
Yep.
there is no real, let's say, roadmap of who's responsible for what, who reports to whom, who appoints, who hires and fires, who reviews. There is a number of different areas that typically the appointments for local boards and commissions are made with, and there are in certain areas within the town manager form of government that the select board will make appointments, and but it's predominantly in the town manager's office, the appointments, and that is everything from some of our elected boards right now, the Board of Health, the Planning Board. Those fall under their umbrella of it being appointed. ZBA, Conservation Commission, Finance Committee is usually a combination between the town moderator, the select board, and the town manager. So it's and also the school committee has been my experience, and it really puts the responsibility in one office, and whoever he or she may be is responsible for the day-to-day operations, and if there are any issues or any questions or requests of any staff or anything, it falls on the town manager's responsibility to make sure that is done. It's not splintered, such as you could potentially, things could fall between the cracks if you have, if someone it reports directly to a board or commission, but they also still have to, it's almost like answering to two bosses. That's often difficult especially when you have environments like that. So it's more streamlined, and it's a responsibility of whoever he or she may be. And it's more effective, the efficiency, and clearly, as what has been expressed locally is the employees also prefer it. Okay, and it just it helps them also.
So just to restate some of that, so right now, the select board has MOUs, MOAs with quite a few boards and committees who have appointing authority, right? And when we go to a town manager, if we go to a town manager style of government, we're changing that reporting structure so that
Correct.
Instead of the employee working for the board, they report to the manager, but their goals will still be set by the board effectively more. Their direction will be set by the board, their management will be done by the manager, right? And we no longer need these MOAs.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah. And the charter is a requirement or an option for these?
I believe it's been my experience that when you have that form of government, it's a requirement. You need to have a town charter. Okay.
And charter lays all that out, right?
Yep.
So that, when there's ever any transition or anything like
Right.
that, you just go back to the charter, which is then, incorporated as part of your bylaws. And it's clear as to, it should be a good charter will delineate what those roles and responsibilities are.
And the elected versus appointed boards is a decision that we make to put in the charter. It's not a requirement of this.
That's what I believe so, yes.
So I'm just trying to lay out so that people
Right.
understand where we're heading.
Right.
So.
The charter would determine whether there are other commissions or boards of oversight over departments, right? So for example, if we wanted to move, I'm not going to say we're doing this, but if the cemetery department could become part of DPW, or
Correct.
that would be part of the charter change,
Correct.
for example.
Exactly.
But all of that is completely independent of whether we pick a town manager, and every one of those is theoretically debated and discussed by this charter committee when the charter's being written.
And the public, exactly.
And the public.
100%. And it's, so there is some streamlining and consolidation, because you would absolutely, that you made a perfect example. You would take the cemetery commission, and that individual would report directly to the DPW director, and he or she would be responsible for those employees there. And part of that transition, when you meld like that, you also have to recognize that sometimes there's an indifference in pay. So there is sometimes a financial investment that, and let's say the cemetery workers the laborer may make less or more than the DPW worker, and you have to make that investment to bring everyone in parity in many different ways. You also have areas with public safety. There would also not be with public safety. It would be a matter of, you would have a chief, the fire chief, and the police chief that would report to the town manager, but he or she, in both instances, would still have a contract that the select board would authorize the town manager to sign based upon you're okay with it, and so so you really, and if there are issues with anything like that, then it's the role and the responsibility of the town manager to answer to the select board on the different issues. It would be his or hers, and in regards to the you had made mention that such as a board of commission that right now is appointed by an employee that is appointed by a board of commission, they then would be appointed by the town manager, but they would be the staffing for that board of commission. So that ultimately, but they would still be, taking direction on specific things and from that Board of Commission, but ultimately, it would fall on the town manager if there are issues.
If I may, in terms of the Charter Commission, that's an election? That's an elected position or appointed?
You all, if you need 7 to 9, this would be how you would like to pursue that. I'm guessing here, so I'm not suggesting it's each select board member would get an appointment. So you have 5 right there, so you would, depending on how many you want to have, whether it be 7 or 9, and then you would invite, if you want to invite the school committee to have 1 appointment or 2, or the finance committee to have 1 or 2 appointments. It's, the way I understand is you can make that determination on who gets to pick someone.
And then, this is not anything that's written in stone or signed in blood or anything, but is your sense, based on your discussions so far, is it your sense that Town Hall has the bandwidth to usher this type of process without additional reinforcements, or do you think that, we would need to bring in some additional manpower to help get this project seen through?
No, I think we can.
So you were talking about Herculean efforts, and you're already doing Herculean efforts in Town Hall, so.
Well, it's, the Herculean effort really is, it really falls on the Charter Commission.
Okay.
That is a tremendous amount of time and passion that's put behind that. And it's something that I've only seen it once in another community that I wasn't part of, but it's, at the end of the day, it was well worth it for everybody across the board. And so what that would do is, you would also be we'd be in a better position to attract more higher qualified candidates across the board, because there would be, you would take out that perception that, well, I've got to, who do I answer to, or anything like that, and I would like to understand the goals and the visions, and someone that I'm not left out on an island by myself in the event that there tends to be some complications or some issues that come up. Now it's he or she would have that support of the administration. Not that they don't now, but it's more prevalent that way, and especially if you're trying to attract a highly qualified candidate, an experienced candidate. There is many individuals through the years of profession they're looking at protection, which I think is great for morale and great overall for output.
So part of what is driving this is we're getting a report from DOR in a few weeks.
By the end of June, correct.
That's, we believe the recommendations, indications are the recommendations are to go down this path.
Right.
So
we believe that could be it, but, and they spent, 2 or 3 days here, and also on the phone with many employees, members, yourself, many members on various boards and commissions that they really, and they did a very, very thorough job to in their research. So it appears that way, but without committing anything, it appears that they are very favorable to moving in that direction. And quite honestly, I mean, as you know, I'm out, as I try and get out every week to more and more businesses within the town and knock on doors. I am shocked at how many unsolicited proprietors will, or even workers within there that will say, we're not little anymore. We're growing, and we need the town manager form of government. And I said, well, whatever the powers be.
And remember, for the board too, this isn't our first bite at the apple. I think there was a study back in 2007 that we provided to DOR too.
Right.
But at that time, when the group looked at it, didn't see that. But I think to Jim's point and the changes that we've seen, the time that we've been here, things have changed, and frankly, it's a lot more complex to manage government now than it's being, more and more laws are coming in, more mandates and requirements in terms of reporting, and we talked a little bit this morning at our select board meeting on open records and being responsive on that. It's just gotten more and more complex, and that's where some of this helps in terms of the structure.
And if I can just, there could be, there has the potential of situations when you do have the way it's structured, that town staff is appointed and reports to any board or commission, that if the alignment of the administration and accountability of staff, that sometimes they don't align. And it's there is no authority that can basically say, we should do it this way because it's in the best interest, because of other information that has been shared by the select board or however, whatever, and we could absolutely be in a position that, well, too bad, we're doing it this way. We try to avoid that.
So I think it's a path we want to pursue. I think saying that we can do this in 9 months is outrageously optimistic. We don't, but we should figure out how to move it forward, I think, and maybe when we are all together at our next meeting, we can discuss how big of a committee we want.
Yeah.
And it's something to be thinking about,
And make sure
7 or 9 or.
Yeah, make sure we find people who are committed.
I'm guessing it's a 2-year process.
Yeah, probably.
So. We have our first volunteer.
Thank you. No, Rob Brown's 25 Juniper Road. Just one quick question. I thought I'd heard, and so I'm interested in the answer, is there a regulation, et cetera, with regard to resident population that in effect forces the community to convert to something other than town administrator? That's just false?
I don't believe so.
Okay, that's what I wanted to
I think
understand.
it's not when you must, it's when,
You probably will.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that
Okay,
you shall do
but
it.
it's not an,
There's a $10,000 resident
that's what I thought I was hearing in
number
IBM,
out there, but I don't
et
think it's a
cetera.
mandate.
I thought, are we,
It can't
so I'm
be.
interested, my question is really led towards, is this really you decide whether you want to do it, or with the advancements that are already taking place in the community, or is it a fait accompli that we're going to be flipped because of the requirement? If there's no
I think it's
regulation.
the point that we're getting too big, that we're having trouble managing.
Understood.
But there's no requirement
Thank
for getting out of our own way.
We just have a neighboring community, I think, what is it, Air? That's got a town manager. They've got a less population
they're smaller
than
than
Littleton.
us.
There's 6,000
Yeah.
6,000 people, but then you have Brookline, who is a town administrator, and it's got much higher population than Littleton.
I got town manager, town
administrator, right,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
Okay.
I mean, I would say, the most popular criticism that I've heard or feedback I've gotten from the public is that they don't know what's happening. And that's something that we can work on, and, that we're working on with the newsletter
Right.
and, podcast studio that's coming up. And
Right.
also, library office hours, all sorts of things. But second to that, what I hear a lot is, I don't get the impression that anybody knows what anybody else is doing, who isn't, and the silo effect. And it sounds to me like town manager, that a town manager approach has the potential to really cut down on that silo effect that I think is getting in our way.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it really does emphasize the streamline and the root of information, the root of the approval process, the root of the checks and balances is in a specific direction instead of being fragmented, across. And sometimes one area is told, and sometimes the other one isn't. And it's just to your point. You're right.
Okay. So.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put it on. We'll have it on for the next agenda.
Board appointments. So we have a lot of people here or a few people here that are being appointed. If you want to come up and speak, or if you don't want to, that's fine.
Any questions for me?
I would note, Mr. Chairman, this will be you'll probably have some more appointments at your next meeting too. This was the first case. So.
Great.
Shall I read all the names or just?
You don't need to.
Very good.
You do not need to.
I move that the select board vote to approve the slate of appointments in the table below.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
You're at the bottom of the second page.
There you are,
Yep.
Cheryl. There
Zoning
you
Board
go.
of Appeals, seat 7.
Marge, you're at the middle of the second page.
Woohoo!
We already had our Nagog discussion.
Yep.
Yep. So vote to authorize the select board chair to execute the purchase and sale for the Webster property.
Okay. And this would be a vote to authorize the select board chair to sign this. And we have, this was dropped off today by the Websters, so they have done their part.
This was a great effort by everybody, and I applaud Amy Green for the resiliency of trying to identify leveraging a grant that could really maybe spare some of the CPC funds, but unfortunately the timing of everything just couldn't connect. So we just said so. And we'll be in possession of the property immediately after July 1st.
Great.
I did have a question about it. It was... Clause 13, use of money to clear title. That's boilerplate, is it not? Or
It should
was that
be.
something that was
Right. The only thing that isn't
tailored for this particular
The only
deal?
thing that isn't boilerplate, and this is, I think, is that we're intending to take it by eminent domain so as to,
Yeah.
clear up any issues, well, not clear up any issues. If there were issues, which we're not presupposing, we'll clear that up. But I
Yeah.
believe, to enable the seller to make a conveyance as herein provided, the seller may, at the time of the delivery of the deed, use the purchase money or any portion thereof to clear the title of any all encumbrances or interest, provided that all instruments so procured are recorded simultaneously with the delivery of said deed. So I think it is boilerplate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Nope. Nope. Move that the select board vote to authorize the select board chairperson to execute the purchase and sale for the Webster parcel per vote on Article 8 of the May 7, 2024 annual town meeting.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Animal control officer job description.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is historically the town has had a memorandum of agreement with the town of Oxbow, who is serving as the lead to provide animal control services. Our point of contact typically has been the chief of police here in Littleton. It's been a good agreement that I think has served the town well. But as it turns out, the town of Foxborough has informed us that they are no longer going to provide said service, so the MOU is going to be going away as of July 1. So we are in turn going to try to, the request here is to establish an animal control officer position. The chief of police, working with our HR department, went before the Personnel Advisory Committee, I think it was last week, to formally establish the position. And what you are being asked to vote on today is to approve of the establishment of the position as grade 7 on our, and to add that position, Schedule A, and to approve of the job description, which again was worked on by HR. I think I had some templates that I worked with Michelle on for this. So the goal is, once the position is established, then we can post for the position and then hire someone to do this. And there's maybe a possibility that we'd be looking at the person who's providing this service currently through Boxborough, but doing so independently and with her own vehicle. So that's one of the possibilities that we're looking at here. So it's a change, but to do so, we need to be able to establish this, because we cannot, through our research, I think Jim mentioned this morning, can't do it as a contract service. It needs to be an employee.
Make sense?
Do you have any? My only comment is, do we want this, it says it works under the direction of the chief of police or his designee. Should it be that or the town administrator and his designee, and you designate the chief of police? Because otherwise, I understand that this person is most likely to be reporting or in that relationship. I just don't know if we want to go back and update the job description later if something's changed. That's just a question.
Yeah, no, typically it's, the ACO will always report up through the police department.
I assume that the grade was approved by the personnel committee?
Yeah, they had discussed it about where it should fall, Matthew.
Okay.
And so I think we were kind of going back and forth with between grade 8 and grade 7, and ultimately that's where
Okay.
they landed.
Move that the select board vote. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Oh.
Mr. Chairman, George Sanders, 672 Great Road. On this position, I'd like to know, with regards to the budget itself, how much money did we have in there with this mutual agreement with the person that was the eminent officer, and how much money different is needed now to put this in a grade 7 position against the town now?
Right.
So,
if I may, Mr. Chair, so our FY25 budget, I think, is about $35,000, with the presumption that we were going to be in that, $36,000, okay, so within that agreement, George. So we think that by hiring the individual at a grade 7, it actually ultimately will be less for us. We don't know how many hours we're going to be asking of it, because that's part of the negotiation, trying to figure that out. So the exact number we don't know, but we believe that it will be less than what the budgeted figure, and then the FY26 budget will reflect whatever that where the grade and step will be for the person.
how many hours and how much were we paying? Is it the 35 or 36?
So
what was that represent?
Yeah, so the MOA that we had with Boxborough was just to provide the service. So there's basically the provision of the service on
on-call basis.
Basically, yeah.
That we had.
Right, and so we would probably be doing something similar here, but then we'd also have to determine, what's the value of that, and in terms of the hours and such.
I don't know if you have or not. Do we have a track record on the calls that hours was put in for that?
Sure. I think the police department probably has that information, and they'll probably maybe use that as a way to gauge. That's actually a good suggestion, as to how to gauge that.
As long as it's going to make it better, and we don't have to go in with extra money, because we already approved the budget.
That was, and George, that was a consideration for this in terms of, but part of it is a long-term agreement that now, we kind of have to figure out another plan through, yeah. But fortunately, we hope it's going to be less, and we anticipate that.
Okay. Move that the select board vote to approve and establish the animal control officer position on grade 7 of compensation plan schedule A, permanent full and part-time employees, and move that the select board vote to approve the attached job description for the animal control officer as amended, or no mention. Okay.
No mention. Yeah, that's right.
As not amended.
As not amended. As written.
As written, yes.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, second by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
This is the Webster parts.
I think we're at the minutes.
Correct. I have no corrections to them.
Me either.
So, move that the select board vote to approve the meeting minutes from the select board meeting on May 28th, 2024.
May
What is it?
28th or May 24th?
Oh,
It's May
good question.
28th.
It's going to
May
be the
20
28th, yeah.
May 28th,
May
yeah.
28th.
2024.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, second by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye. Anything else, gentlemen, lady? Move to adjourn?
Second.
Move to adjourn made by Matthew, second by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Littleton.
Right on time. Look at that.